Room 313. I used to work the night shift at a small hotel off the interstate in rural Pennsylvania. It wasn't much. 3 floors, 52 rooms, and an air of mild neglect. Most nights were quiet, filled with the hum of vending machines and the occasional late check-in from a trucker or a traveling salesman. But there was one night that still keeps me from sleeping soundly. It started with a storm. The kind of storm that doesn't just rain, but presses down on you like the whole sky wants to crush the earth. Thunder cracked like gunfire and the lights flickered in the lobby. I was sitting behind the desk, half watching the security monitors, half scrolling through my phone, when the front doors slid open and a man stepped in. Soaking wet, no luggage, and no expression. He said his name was Mr. Wallace. His voice was flat, like someone reading from a script. I asked if he had a reservation. He didn't. He just stared at me and said, "I need a room." Any room but 313. That made me pause. Room 313 had been out of service since I started working there. Management just said it had some plumbing issues, but I'd peeked inside once during a cleaning round. Everything looked normal, just dusty like nobody had stepped in there for years. I gave him a key to 312. As he turned to leave, he said something that made my stomach twist. "Don't let anyone check into 313, no matter what they say." I nodded, unsure what to think. He walked away without another word. A couple hours later, I was alone again. The rain hadn't let up. I was refilling the coffee machine when the bell at the front desk dinged. I turned around. There was no one there. I checked the monitors. Empty hallways. The elevator hadn't moved. Still, the bell had definitely rung. I stood there, trying to rationalize it, when the printer behind the desk whirred to life. A single sheet spat out. It was a reservation confirmation for room 313. There was no name, no credit card, just the room number and the word "checked in." I stared at it for a long time before deciding to go up. I told myself it had to be a glitch. Maybe the system was acting up because of the storm. The elevator creaked as I rode to the 3rd floor. When the doors opened, the hallway was dim. Half the lights were flickering. The carpet felt wet under my shoes. I walked toward 313, heart pounding, and then I heard it, whispering, low and fast, like 100 voices trying to talk over each other behind the door. I pressed my ear to it. There was a sudden, loud knock from the inside. I staggered back. The door handle started to turn. I should have run. I wanted to run, but something held me there, like my feet were nailed to the floor. The door creaked open. The room inside was pitch black, but I could feel someone standing just beyond the threshold, breathing. I whispered, "Who's there?" The whispering stopped. Then a voice, barely audible, said, "You already let me in." The door slammed shut. I don't remember the elevator ride down. I just know that by the time I got back to the lobby, Mr. Wallace was gone. His key was on the desk, and the system showed room 312 had never been checked out. Later, I looked up the hotel's history. Room 313 had been the site of a murder-suicide in the early 90s. A man named Wallace had killed his wife and disappeared. They never found him. That was my last night at that hotel. I never went back. But sometimes, when it storms, my phone buzzes with a reservation confirmation. Room 313. Checked in. Room 616. I've never believed in ghosts. Not until I stayed at the Marrow Inn. It was supposed to be a quick drive, 3 hours through the mountains to meet my sister for the weekend. But the storm hit faster than forecasted. Rain came in sheets, thick as curtains, and the road turned into a winding nightmare of slick asphalt and blind turns. My phone died somewhere around mile marker 47, and when I tried to charge it, I realized the outlet in my car had stopped working days ago. That's when I saw the light through the fog. A faint, flickering sign. The Marrow Inn, vacancy. It jutted out from a leaning post like it hadn't been updated in decades. The building was a gray slab of rotted wood and cracked brick, hunched at the end of a gravel road, nearly swallowed by the trees. It looked wrong, like something drawn from memory, not built in reality. But it was late, I was freezing, and I needed to get off the road. Inside, the lobby smelled like wet stone and decay. A chandelier dangled from a cracked ceiling, swaying slightly, though there was no wind. The wallpaper was peeling in long, curled strips like dried skin. Behind the desk sat an old man with glassy eyes and paper-thin skin, yellow with age. "You're lucky," he said, voice like gravel. "Only one room left? Do you have Wi-Fi?" He gave a little laugh. "No need for that up here." He handed me a brass key attached to a tag that read 616. The weight of it felt unnatural, cold, heavy, as if it had been waiting. The elevator should have been condemned. It moaned as it rose, jerking with each floor. I swear, as it passed the 5th floor, I heard someone whisper my name. I chalked it up to nerves or maybe the groan of the gears. But when the doors creaked open, the hallway was colder, long, dead quiet. Room 616 was at the end. The room was off, like the colors didn't belong. The bedspread was faded mustard yellow, the walls stained with water damage that looked oddly like claw marks. A massive antique mirror hung across from the bed. The glass was clouded, cracked vertically down the center. I could see my reflection, but it was distorted. My face stretched longer, my eyes deeper. I laughed uneasily and looked away. The window didn't open. The curtains were stuck. The radiator hissed steam and then went silent. I didn't bother unpacking. I just lay down, tired but restless, and stared at the ceiling until sleep took me. I woke up, gasping. At first, I didn't know why. Then I heard it. Scrape. It was coming from the mirror. I sat up, staring at it. The room was dark, but not empty. In the reflection, I saw a figure, thin, shrouded in shadows, standing behind me. I turned. No one. I looked back. She was closer. Her hair was wet, long, hanging over her face like seaweed. I whispered, "Who's there?" She tilted her head slowly. Her face remained hidden, but I saw her mouth twitching, trying to form a word. Her hands rose, nails broken, fingertips blackened. I lunged for the door. The knob was freezing. I twisted it. It wouldn't budge. The chain lock jangled uselessly when I tried to slide it. I turned to grab my phone from the nightstand. It was gone. Only the key sat there. Scrape. She was halfway out of the mirror now, not walking, crawling. Her joints cracked as she moved. I screamed and the lights exploded above me, raining sparks. The walls were groaning, breathing. I don't know how I got out. I remember crashing through the window, landing hard on something sharp. The rain was gone. The air was still. When I came to, I was in a ditch by the side of the highway, soaked and bleeding, clutching the brass key in my hand like it was a lifeline. The Marrow Inn wasn't behind me. Just woods. I flagged down a trucker, babbled out what happened. He looked confused, then said something I'll never forget. "Marrow Inn? That place burned down years ago. No one's been there since the fire in '87. You must have hit your head." I didn't argue. I didn't tell him I still had the key. I didn't tell him I see her sometimes, at the edge of my vision, in hotel mirrors or storefront glass. Always closer than she should be. Watching, waiting. I haven't stayed in a hotel since, and I never will again. The room that called me. I didn't plan to stay at the Bleakwood Hotel. It was supposed to be a quick overnight layover, just one night in a small city I barely remembered the name of before my morning flight out. The rideshare driver dropped me off around 11:30 p.m., and even he seemed reluctant to stop too close. "You sure this is the place?" he asked, peering up at the facade. "Kinda old school." He was being kind. The bleak wood looked like it had been dragged out of another century. Tall, narrow, all shadowed brick and dark windows. A single gas lamp-style light flickered by the entrance. I was too tired to care. Inside, the lobby was surprisingly clean, but cold, like no one had moved through the air in years. There was no music, no hum of life, just the soft tick of a grandfather clock in the corner and the low creak of old floorboards. The man at the front desk didn't look up. He was scribbling something furiously in a ledger, breathing too loudly. "I've got a reservation under Carter," I said. He froze mid-scribble. Then, very slowly, he looked up at me with eyes that were too dark, too still, like ink in water. "You're early," he said. I blinked. "What?" He smiled. "Your room is ready." I hadn't given him my name. I hadn't said what room I booked, but he slid a tarnished brass key across the counter without another word. The number was etched in faded script. 313. The elevator was out of order, of course. The stairs groaned as I climbed. The third floor was quiet, too quiet. No TVs, no murmurs through the walls. Just a long hallway lined with old oil paintings of places I couldn't identify. Some were crooked, a few looked burned. When I found room 313, the door was already slightly open. Inside, everything was off-center. The furniture didn't match, the lamp buzzed, and the air smelled faintly of mold and old perfume. But what really got me was the mirror. It took up the entire wall opposite the bed. Massive, antique, filigree frame with strange symbols etched around the edges, like runes or letters from a forgotten alphabet. Its surface rippled slightly, like water disturbed by a breath. I didn't sleep right away. I kept feeling like the mirror was listening, waiting. I even checked behind it. Just wall, no tricks. Around 2 a.m., I finally passed out. I woke to the sound of whispering. I sat up. The room was dark except for the streetlight casting a dull orange glow through the blinds. The whispering was soft but sharp, like nails on glass coming from, of course, the mirror. I stood and approached. My reflection stared back at me. But something was wrong. It blinked before I did. I backed away. The whispering grew louder. It sounded like my name, over and over, not pleading, not warning, summoning. Suddenly, the door to the room slammed shut. I ran to it, yanked the knob. It wouldn't budge. I looked back. My reflection was gone, just an empty room in the glass. But it wasn't my room. The bed was different, blood-stained. The walls were scorched black. Something moved in the corner of the mirrored space, too fast to see, too dark to name. Then the glass cracked. Not a single crack, but a spiderweb of fractures, spreading outward like it was about to burst. Behind those cracks, the thing in the corner began to crawl closer. I screamed, pounded the door, cried. Then I woke up. Morning light poured in. The mirror was intact. My suitcase was packed. My receipt was on the table. It all looked fine. Except when I went to check out, the man at the desk was gone. In his place was a note, handwritten, same scrawl as the key tag. "Thanks for staying. You always belonged here. Room 313 is inside you now." I didn't understand. Not until I got home and looked in the mirror that night. For a moment, just a flash, my reflection didn't move. It watched me and smiled.